Hi, this is Gareth Somers from the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire. This week I'm looking at Chapter 5 from Stanislavsky's an actor's work, Concentration and Attention. It explicitly draws further attention to the concept of being as an actor. So this is all about the embodied process. Again, it recalls some of the issues flagged up in the very first chapter, amateurism, and offers a way to begin to think and work around problems of distraction and attention. It then goes to show how we can relax into the use of imagination and the given circumstances. It raises two principal questions. How do we maintain focus, and how do we prevent ourselves from being distracted by the audience or the camera? The start of the chapter features the students trying a number of ways to immerse themselves into their work, but repeatedly they become unstuck. Their focus is continuously drawn to the audience, the teacher, the dead elements of the stage, and a million other distractions. And if you've ever attended an audition and tried to impress, tried to catch the light, tried to look good, tried to be the best, tried not to be nervous, etc., then you too were distracted. Any time that your focus is not on the immediate concerns of the character, you are effectively not playing the scene. Kostya likens the awareness of the black hole of the auditorium, or it could be the camera, to someone who, thinking they're alone in a hotel room, is suddenly aware that there's a huge group of strangers watching them. Suddenly the natural private behaviour becomes forced, contrived and stiff. He concludes, until we've learnt to avoid the black hole, we will not be able to make any progress, and that's for sure. Greater immersion in the given circumstances doesn't work because we're always aware of the real physical environment and its conditions around us. Tortsov says we must focus on objects of attention. And Kostya remembers from an earlier chapter when he picked up the nails on the stage and suddenly became so engrossed in the task that he was fluid and present and in the moment and forgot the threat of the auditorium. The secret, Tortsov says, is to divert your attention from the auditorium. And to do this, you must become engrossed in what is happening on stage. So he introduces the idea of objects of attention. The actor needs an object on stage on which to focus attention only. And the more compelling the object, the more it can command our attention. So he goes on to suggest that we are always in our lives focused in some way on some object or another. Currently, you will be thinking about something. Something will have your attention. An actor has to seduce him or herself with different objects, has to trick himself into becoming engrossed in these objects. Objects arise and wane in importance in life all the time, and we are always taken up with one or other. But in the theatre, the auditorium is a chasm that steals our attention. So we must learn to become absorbed in the objects, the ideas and thoughts we choose to be absorbed in, and ignore the others. Tortsov says we must learn to look and see. Tortsov lights up different parts of the stage, different properties, saying one's attention must rest on each of these areas. And you can try this at home. Completely rest your attention on one object in the room, then another, then another, then a specific region. He asks us to concentrate on the object, and he uses the phrase concentration, but concentration is too forced a process to describe what he really means. In fact, it may be more profitable to you to think of your focus as moving from relaxed awareness of an object to attention on an object, to absorption in an object. Now, each of these have a sense of ease about the process. Don't concentrate. Objects are not maths problems. They're just things, thoughts, or ideas. He notes that this kind of awareness on an object produces a natural need to do something with it. So concentration, or awareness, plus action creates a close bond with the object. Tortzov asks the actors to focus on objects near, in the middle, and far distant. This is hard to achieve without becoming distracted. We need then to learn to see and look on the stage or in front of the camera. On stage, something that is natural to us in everyday life becomes lost as an ability. Just looking, along with many other very elementary actions, fall apart when an audience is present. What we find is when asked to look at something on stage, novice actors tend to stare and glare. They look with manic intensity. Well, try this. Look around and point to a chair. I'll ask you a question. Where's the door? Look. Is there a tree? Look. Is there a cup? Look. If you just look in the direction of the object, your eyes just rest on it naturally. You don't force your eye sockets out of your head. To look out of the window is no effort. But if you were to look out of a stage window, you might find all sorts of tension in your face and eyes. Thus, Tortzov speaks of 95% too much tension in the eyes when people look at things on stage. If you reduce tension in the body, your eyes tend to relax and you'll start to see much more. And conversely, if you relax your eyes, your body also tends to relax. Tension denotes extra thought and effort, something for the audience, something not natural, unless there is something to cause tension within the fiction of the piece. Natural immersion or absorption of awareness in the object is a relaxed and delicate process. Take a note from Kostya. He says, take pleasure in looking and seeing, in natural, simple observation. Effort, he says, cannot replace thoughtful eyes that give life to everything. Notice that when you are present, you bring presence out in other people. If you give attention to the space, if you give attention to things and other people, you imbue them with extra life. An actor's eyes, Stanislavsky says, that look and see attract the audience's attention. Contrariwise, vacant eyes direct the audience's eyes away from the stage. So this process of objects of attention offers us the chance to augment our observation with imagination. We're free to add imaginative detail to everything we see, giving it a history, a personal association, and a meaning for the character. Now we've detoxified our imagination that was previously resting in the auditorium upon our friends, critics, and imagined accolades, then our imagination is free to engage with the objects of attention. Rachmaninoff introduces exercises where the actors are encouraged to look carefully at scenes and remember the details. I recommend this as a personal exercise. Test your power of observation. Also see how long you can stay focused on one thing, an object, your breath, counting backwards from 100. This will help retain focus. But remember, don't strain. Don't hold, don't grasp. Just hold gentle and unforced awareness in one place. Before applying given circumstances and imagination to objects of attention, though, Tortzov introduces us to the idea of circles of attention. He uses pools of light on the stage to illustrate the idea that an actor create an imagined circle of attention, a circle of focus, a circle of awareness around himself or herself. The actor becomes aware only of that circle and everything in it. This is localized attention. You can extend the circle to include your partner or eventually the whole playing space. When one's attention shifts, the circle of attention shifts with it. The circle can be as small as a hand around a cup or as large as the whole stage. Try this. Create an imagined circle around your chair. Take in everything in that space and imagine everything else in darkness. Now gradually increase the sphere of your focus, just as our attention shifts from the immediate space to the entire room. Perhaps if someone walks in, or if our attention is drawn by some other sound. You can shift your focus again from a localized task to the whole space and give attention only to the area where your awareness is resting. So try this again. Just have an awareness of the space around you, and you can do this as a mental exercise, but I recommend that you feel a physical connection, a sensual connection to that space. You can give it a different flavor, a different sense of emotion. If you're completely engrossed in the objects and the items and the people just within this very narrow space, or the activity, the action within this narrow space, then your focus won't be distracted by the camera, won't be distracted by the auditorium. And so it's important for actors to know what their target is, to use Declan Donnellan's phrase. And an object of attention can be within, it can be an imagined object, something in the mind. I recommend that if you have an object of attention and you make it a memory, place it somewhere in the room, place it behind you. Otherwise you'll end up in a sort of internalized kind of intense condition that doesn't really communicate everything. Everything really needs to be played outside of you. But don't force your eyes, just let us in. You can be thinking something, then you have the ability to let the audience in. You go to what Uta Hagen calls third place, where your mind is busy, your emotions are busy, but your eyes are resting on something in the space and just allowing us to view through the eyes. It's particularly useful in camera work. So it's possible to undertake very personalized and private actions and activities within the circle of attention. This is called public solitude, or sometimes a public-private moment. This is a popular exercise in drama school, when people are invited to brush their teeth or take a shower or do something intimate in a way that they would normally do without an audience, but to be so focused on the objects of attention and the circle of attention that they're unconscious of the audience and uninhibited by the view of the camera. Let's say you're cleaning your teeth. You focus on the circle of attention around you, upon the brush, the paste, the mirror, your teeth, and you keep focus on the narrow circle containing these things. As Stanislavsky says, it's a public moment because we are all here with you, but it's solitude because you are cut off from us by your own circle of attention. In a performance with 1,000 eyes upon you, he says, you can always retreat into your own circle of solitude. Next, Turtsoff compares the small localized circle, the circle of the body and its immediate effects, with the medium circle which fills a large section of the playing area. Kostya says he feels lonely in this space until it becomes full of his colleagues, and then he observes that the larger space is suitable for a more general than personal mood. It becomes possible to create a crowd, a collective, or a group scene. The localized circle is a soliloquy space. That is a space where one is engaged in one's own activity. And the group circle becomes a circle of presence, a circle of awareness, where there is more interaction with the others, and the whole group are sharing the same shared focal point. He doesn't go into much detail about this, but it does offer the actor the chance to treat other people and specific objects as objects of attention within a wider circle of attention. Just as in a familiar room, you'll notice your attention will be held by a lover, a rival, an authority figure, or an enemy as they enter into the space. Your focal point changes, the scope of your awareness shifts. So then does the imagination begin to act with the given circumstances, to imbue the details and the personalities within the circle of attention with value and feeling. Kostya notes he no longer feels the pull of the auditorium. This attention to circles of attention, to localized objects or objects within a certain field of concentration or awareness, enables you to overcome stage fright, to be more present, to be more natural, and to rest in the setting, rest in front of the camera. As Tortsov widens the circle of attention, Kostya loses his grip on it. If you have a very broad space, you need to be aware of where the end of that space is, your personal circle of attention. So you become aware of the circumference of the stage, or the circumference of the playing area, or if it's the kind of piece that includes the audience, the circumference of the whole auditorium. You can try this next exercise anywhere, and I suggest you try this regularly. Notice in life where your attention flits from one circle of attention to another. And then, when going about your business, try expanding and contracting your attention. Each time you establish a circle of attention, let your gaze move freely within it. Keep awareness of the center and the periphery of the circle, and allow attention to move from one size of circle to another. If you get lost in a large circle, concentrate on a focal point within it and reduce the size of the circle. This way, attention can shift and waver, but without breaking a hold on the world of the performance. So we see that every large circle of attention is made up of smaller circles within it. In this way, one can anchor oneself in the present, in public solitude, and expand one's awareness or contract it, dependent on the demands of the scene and the character's focus. Let's call this a circle of awareness. Try carrying a circle of awareness around with you. Expand it. Bring others into your circle, or exclude them. An interesting thing happens here. With awareness comes presence. As one expands or reduces the circle of attention, you'll find, like Kostya, that your composure, lack of haste and confidence will develop. You'll begin to feel present with the others and in the environment. This kind of work from circles of attention has been developed by Patsy Rodenberg to encompass stage presence, where she identifies 3 circles of presence. I personally have also expanded this work by using energy processes, biological approaches to emotion, and ancient spiritual exercises to increase personal presence. This work isn't something that I can easily discuss here. It's easier transmitted in a workshop, but I can offer you this tip. Be aware that an idea of breath and a feeling of awareness, of energy, of physical vitality should accompany this awareness or absorption in a circle. You can also use this kind of approach in a different way in text work, and it's particularly effective in Shakespeare. For example, a simple exercise you can try with text is to break the text into different circles of awareness. That is, break up a monologue, for example, into 3 categories. I'm alone. I'm speaking with you. I'm speaking to the crowd. I'm alone. That is, speaking to myself. I'm with you. That is, I'm sharing with a partner. And I'm with you. That is, a wider crowd. Could even, in Shakespeare, include the audience itself as an object of attention. This way of making the audience an imagined partner is another non-naturalistic way of using circles of attention to nullify the effect of the black hole. They become a character in the fiction and not auditors in reality. So, try this with a monologue. Where are you speaking just to your own body and your circle of attention is on your own awareness, your own thoughts and ideas? Where are you sharing with a partner, imagined or real? And where are you sharing with a wider community or even an audience? Awareness, imagination, and given circumstances. Next, Stanislavsky speaks about how we bring imagination and given circumstances together with circles of attention. It's the given circumstances and the history of the characters, the objects and the environments that give life to objects of attention. Every object or environment must contribute something to our understanding of the relationships of the characters to each other and to the action of the piece. So think about an object that is close to you, that has some sentimental value. It's become what Freud calls cathexed. That is, it's been imbued with significance, with personal value, maybe a history. A crown in Shakespeare is given a history, a value and a quality. You'd be much more unhappy about breaking a cup given to you by a now deceased loved relative than by an identical one just bought from the shop. And this is how objects of attention, including people, come alive in imagination and alive in the bodies and the senses of an actor. This is the value that we need to imbue objects and the environment with. Your circle of attention in a hospital bed will feel different to the circle of attention in an expensive hotel, or in your parents' house, or in a lover's room, or in a library. So we need to transform the dead objects of the set into meaningful and emotionally resonant objects and places. Stanislavsky suggests that imagination creates images and then stimulates the senses. There are a number of ways we can do this, and research of my own into evolutionary biology, emotion and energy has enabled me to develop a series of exercises to help us deeply connect emotionally with the environment and with objects. Again, this is something I teach in workshops, and it's an experiential practice, not easy to describe here, so that everything in the given circumstances becomes felt, filtered, as Stanislavsky says, through images into sense. He asks the students to remember the sound of a piece of music, or the smell, or the taste of a type of food. Initially, he notes, this stimulates an image, which then turns into a sensual recollection of the sensation. Objects of attention exist in the world around us and in our imagination. Similarly, we imbue real objects with a veneer of imagination or even fantasy. Some of the best exercises for concentration and imagination are described by Michael Chekhov, which asks the actor to physically imagine changes to the body. Try this. Try visualizing the whole character you're playing in front of you. Then imaginatively, with your eyes closed, step into their body. Let it change your posture, your height, even your weight. This immediate physicalization of the imagined object instantly brings your whole being into play, rather than just focusing on the material elements of imagination. And when you're wearing the character's body, you can start to engage with objects. And if this object had this history, how would you handle it differently? How would you handle something if it had the connections to you that this object does, the associations with different people and events? Imagine an array of tastes and temperatures and feelings. Let them affect you. Let the feelings spread around you into every pore of your body. Imagine a change in atmosphere. What if your circle of attention was warmer, colder, happier, gloomier? Stanislavsky says you must be able to revitalize the object, turning it from something cold, intellectual and rational into something warm, something sensory. In my own teaching, I tend to avoid the initial intellectual mental concentration to go straight to embodied methods of building relationships. It might help you to imagine a red rope tying you to all the people and objects of the room. Stanislavsky then goes to talk about stagecraft. That is, how to place your eye so that the audience does not become distracted. To practice this, in essence, be aware of where things are and be aware of where imaginary things are. Try letting your eyes rest on a specific object. Then remove the object and see if it still looks as if you're looking at the same place, at the same object. Look at a spot on the wall and then move back and look at the same spot in the air, or hold your hand in front of your eye and then focus on the same spot where your hand was. Look at a picture on the wall and then turn to where there is no wall and look in the same spot but in the middle distance, in the air. Just see if you can give the impression that you are looking at a picture on a wall. Or do something in a mirror. Check your face and then try to do the same thing without the mirror. Is it convincing? Tortsov says that the actor must cultivate awareness and concentration, not only on stage but in life. He must penetrate the heart of what he is seeing. I recommend meditation techniques for this. There are a number of different forms. Mindfulness practices enable you to penetrate more deeply into some of your own mental processes and gain control, while other forms of meditation focus on the world around you. Try to stay with those that talk about attentiveness to the present moment. And heart-centered meditations I've found help incredibly to enable us to become more intuitive and aware of others and develop our perceptive qualities. Stanislavsky admits that at the time of writing his system doesn't entirely cater for these processes, and again I have a number of exercises to help people develop these perceptive qualities, but they fall again into this experiential work, which is more easily understood through workshops than description here. But I hope that this is a useful way in to thinking about how to engage with objects of attention, how to engage with circles of attention, and how to overcome the fear of the fourth wall. So here are a few exercises to sum up. Pick up an object, use it. Now do it again as if it were given to you by a loved one, and now again as if it were given to you by a rival. Practice expanding and contracting your circle of attention. Try to see people and things as though through the base of the heart. Practice public solitude. Notice how attentive you are to others, to yourself and your surroundings. Increase this capacity for presence and awareness, and gradually start to work with your imagination at the same time. We've come to the end of this chapter. If you've enjoyed the video, share or send me a message and alert other people of their existence. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.